Good morning, everybody. We are here for the Analyst Lounge. My name is Maeve O'Rourke. I am joined with Justin Carris and Regina Ang Lee. One thing I think we wanted to talk about this round was the new promoted Gigantamax Pokemon that we're hoping will be coming out soon.
I'm crossing my fingers because the promoted raids that we had just had gotten. So it was both the apples, there was Lapras, Alchemy, and then we just talked about this.
Gengar.
Oh yeah, Gengar. See, I don't have Shield, so I never got Gengar raids.
I have the exact same problem.
Yeah, if anybody has an extra GMax Gengar, I would love that because it's I actually really like its design.
Took me like 2 hours to get one. I was on did it with Wolf on his stream. It's difficult. I got it though.
It's kind of like what's really nice. What's really nice is like when you're fighting them in raids, you at least get the chance to see what they do, right? Like I was doing a Toxtricity raid and I got to see its GMax move and I was like, oh, that's what it does. Instead of fighting out in a battle with someone.
Yeah, there are a lot of really interesting GMax moves. I know Alchemy's GMax move is really interesting as well. GMax Finale, which is actually super interesting if you want to talk about that a little bit, Regina.
So what it does is it's a fairy type move and it heals you up. Actually, that was the most frustrating GMax raid I've done in so long because you're up there, you're setting things up, and then it attacks you, and then it gets its health back, and you're like, all right, you still have shields up.
GMax Alchemy actually I don't think would have too hard of a time finding a spot in the metagame when it comes out because there's actually quite a bit of a gap between Togekiss, Sylveon, and other fairy types.
Right.
I mean, Whimsicott is technically a fairy type.
But it's so supportive.
But it's so supportive that you're not doing anything. I mean, Alchemy actually could run more offensive sets, and it has a signature move, Decorate.
Decorate is so great.
Actually, a very interesting competitive move, specifically for doubles. It will boost. It's pretty much giving your partner a weakness policy boost.
Yes.
So
yeah, and Becca Franklin ran a really interesting team with Alchemy and Goodra at Dallas. She went 7-3. So I know it has had a place so far in competitive, but without its Gigantamax form. So I am interested to see it, actually act this way. One thing also as well is both of the Appleton and Flapple. I think Appleton technically has been better competitively so far, but I am interested to see if that GMax Appleton might have any sort of resurgence. I don't know what either of you two think.
I know I'm not the biggest fan of the apples just because when I was doing my actual gameplay through, I was like, oh, these guys are okay. So I haven't done much research into it. I know that Brendan Lewis is a huge fan of Flapple because we spent time looking for a GMax raid for it. So I can't speak to how much I like because obviously I have been nonstop on that Alchemy train since they released it. So
you and I both.
Yeah, I was like, catch both of us running it at some local because I will do it.
I think I have half of the forms from these promoted raids, which has just been quite
fun.
Yeah.
Appleton's competitive usage actually it kind of suffers from Tyranitar syndrome where it has a multitude of weaknesses that you don't really want to have on a Pokemon, but it also offers a ton of really good resistances, being able to switch very comfortably into water moves, grass moves, electric moves, but the problem is Tyranitar kind of has a place in the metagame, not just because of its ability, but it has the resistances that you need, like flying. And I mean, it doesn't take too much from Ghost or Poison, which is super, super important in fire moves. Whereas Appleton is a really not comfortable switching into a lot of the more common types in the metagame where it's you're taking a max Starfall from a Togekiss super effectively or a max Airstream. So
or even a max Hailstorm, with something
and any type of ice move will just completely wipe it off the board. So I don't know that Appleton has the same type of competitive viability as something like T-Tar, but it does actually have the ability to get, it gets Acid Armor, I think, and Body Press. So that's the set that, tends to be a little bit more common on online ladders.
Yeah, I'm sure somebody will find some way, right? Because the nice thing about this meta so far has been if you like a Pokemon, you can find some way to put it. And it's not like there's never been niche Pokemon used in here before. So I think it'll find some place eventually. And actually, hearing you talk to you reminded me the last Pokemon that we forgot was Colossal.
Oh my goodness.
The GMax Colossal, because we did see Colossal on stream yesterday, but GMax Colossal I think is going to be coming into rotation as well.
Yeah, I do think Steam Engine as an ability is really
fun.
It's super fun. Another one I want to get into that I think is the most interesting, which we haven't touched on yet, Gigantamax Lapras, which I think is going to have a really interesting spot in the metagame coming up when it does become legal. So either of you want to touch on that, kind of talk about maybe why it would be so formidable?
There's a couple things that make it super good. Obviously, the GMax ability, a lot of the GMax moves actually aren't too good in my opinion. I think that some of them just have really benign secondary effects, but Lapras has access to one of the most broken GMax moves in my opinion in setting Aurora Veil. It's not contingent on whether there is hail set. It sets the hail, so you don't need to, there's no way to really prevent it from happening unless you knock it out. So being able to do damage and set Aurora Veil and be so bulky, if you have any way to like manage the speed control where you're getting it off very like comfortably, I think that it's actually going to be a very centralizing Pokemon, and especially in something like a Perish build where you get access to Perish Song and can keep things in that aren't doing too much damage with Lapras, like comboing it with something like Gothitelle, which gets Fake Out as well now, which is huge for this generation. I think that it's going to be very, very formidable. The good thing though is that like when it comes back, we are getting Incineroar, and while this is probably the only positive thing I'll actually say about Incineroar.
That's the first time I've heard you say something good about Incineroar all weekend.
It will actually operate as a great, you know, kind of like a check to that. I think that it'll increase the usage of stuff like Brick Break. There are a couple new abilities. Screen Cleaner from Mr. Rhyme actually just completely gets rid of stuff like Aurora Veil. So I think trainers are just going to have to get a little bit more creative in how they prevent these things from happening. I think that it's so hard to knock out a GMax Lapras up front, and you run the risk of obviously activating something like a weakness policy, especially with Aurora Veil. You don't want to just go focus on knocking it out. I think people are just going to have to get a little bit more creative in how they prevent it from happening.
I think though that's what's really fun about this generation is, like you said, you brought up like Mr. Rhyme, right? You have so many cool new Pokemon and abilities and sort of items. Like we've had the Throat Spray, and we've had like things that are just like, oh, like Blunder Policy, Milotic yesterday, right?
Which was really interesting, yeah.
And it's been kind of cool because you saying that makes me think there's so many new fun things in Sword and Shield that like you can just pick around and like utilize, and it's like, It makes me feel like there's like a fresh a breath of fresh air into this game, because it's like there's so much fun stuff to it. Like I love seeing everybody be like, oh, I'm gonna use this Pokemon and this Pokemon, and like I'm absolutely terrified of GMax like Lapras, because like you said, Aurora Veil, and then being able to do damage at the same time, like it's absolutely scary. But at the same time, there's so many fun ways to figure out how to counter that.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, I think that is going to wrap it up for us. We will be bringing you round 2 very soon. So everybody, if you could stay tuned, we will be back as soon as we can with the next live round. Thank you.